This gets smoother every time, I think. Okay, I think we're live.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon Hoffman, and I'm here to help you tap into your wisdom.
And I'm Chris Newth. I'm an EQ coach here to help you think about life in common sense, easy, simple ways and understand your emotions so that you can live the happy life that you deserve.
Welcome to Happy and Wise.
Welcome. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Chris. Well, today we have a special topic for you, self-sabotage, so juicy, and specifically solutions to self-sabotage.
Yeah. Self-sabotage. Okay, I'm so amped to jump into this
Yeah.
because I feel like self-sabotage, in a way, I think everybody does this. I think we all do it to some extent. But I'm curious what your definition of self-sabotage. Actually, before we jump in, real quick, just to throw this out there, if anyone is watching live and wants to chime in, maybe you have your own experience with self-sabotage, or you hear us talking about this and you're like, yes, I do this in my life too, or I used to do this in my life. Send us a comment, write a comment, or just write the word relate. I relate to this, so that we know that this is something that is uh, uh, common out there and something that is resonating with you in some way. Um, and at any point, if you guys have any questions or any comments, if you want to share your experience with self sabotage, or if you want to share what helped you with self sabotage, what you found to be helpful in those moments, please share those too. Write us a comment, or ask us a question. Ask a question if you want to also jump on here and talk to us. By all means, do that too. So this is an open forum, but Sharon and I are going to start diving into the topic in our own way, in our own lives, and sort of see where we go with it, see where it takes us.
Absolutely. Thank you for that nice invitation. It's so
Okay.
important. We're really here for you. We love talking about these things, but ultimately it's to be of service to
Right.
everybody who wants this information. This is what we would call sometimes hidden information. It's there in plain sight, but we're not really taught this. It's not visible to the eye.
That's
It
it.
comes from tuning inward, a lot of what we talk about. And I think so many people are curious, how do I create more of the world that I want to inhabit instead of feeling like life just happens to me? And we talk here about how to live our best life by design, not
Hmm.
because it happens to us. But
Yeah.
we can't control everything externally that goes on, but we certainly can choose how to respond and we can choose our mindset. So these are incredible powers that we have.
Yeah.
Hence self sabotage, which is often a hidden thing.
Yeah, I love your description of this because I was just thinking about this in describing it to someone the other day, which is referencing our emotions. It's like these, and self sabotage in large part is that, we'll get to it, it's the emotions and the mind kind of working together in a way that's sort of against us. And uh, I described it as these are, when we talk about emotions or thoughts, like you're saying, it's invisible to the eye. These are energies that are completely invisible to us, and yet they change all these circumstances around. They change how we are looking at things. They change what our eyes and our ears pick up and filter out of the world around us. They change what comes out of our mouth as we're talking. They
And
change our choices.
they can fuel our actions in ways
Yes.
that do
Yes.
not serve us or that very much are in our service. So
Yes.
if we're really understanding what's going on the inside, we can take inspired or right action in the world in our decisions.
Yes.
And
And
it can
self-sabotage, even though it starts here as an invisible thing,
it's
the
invisible.
actions that it inspires will have real world implications, right? Real
Yeah.
world results that we don't like and we don't want to have, and we want to sort of shift. And one way to do that, and the best way to do that, is to start where the root of it is.
So let's come back to your original question. Can you
Yeah.
say that again?
What how would you, Sharon, define self-sabotage?
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
It's when things are going along really well in our lives and we blow them all up. We can destroy relationships. We can lose money. We can do all sorts of things. We can get sick. We can do all sorts of things unknowingly that are our own undoing. So that is self-sabotage when we are getting in our own way.
Mm, I love that definition. Okay. So it's the get taking almost where it, would you describe it as once you start taking actions against yourself or that kind of collide with what you actually want?
Say that again?
Would you describe self-sabotage as once you start taking actions or making choices that kind of go against what you and your heart want in life? Or
No, actually, this is the irony of self-sabotage. Often it happens when we're getting exactly what we desire and we
mm,
shut it
mm.
down.
Oh, I
So
see, I see.
things
Good
can
things
be
happen and then we resist it almost.
well, uh, it's something that comes from a place inside that we're not even aware of that says, I don't deserve it.
Mm,
If I don't blow it up, it's going to blow itself up. So let me do it first. There
mhm.
are all sorts of reasons why we self sabotage.
Mm,
The tension of the other shoe's going to drop because I never get this much good stuff happening in my life for long. We have
mm,
old beliefs that drive our self sabotage.
mm,
And so let me give you an example.
mhm,
Is there's studies on this that most people who win the lottery, who wouldn't want to win the lottery, right?
mhm.
Millions of dollars often. The studies show that most people who win the lottery lose all that money and get back down to where they were when they started.
I heard this. It's like 70% or some I don't know the exact percentage, but it is a if you Google it, it's like the vast majority of people who win the lottery end up losing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is because what we have, whatever it is, becomes our comfort level. So we can become uncomfortable with huge things, huge wins in our lives if that's not our norm.
Hmm.
I know that sounds crazy, but psychology studies show that any big life event, even a fabulous life event, causes stress in our system. Why? Because it's not our norm, even when
Mm,
it's great stuff. So, how often have you heard of people going on vacation only to get sick?
mm,
They save and scrimp and plan and work really hard. And then they go on vacation and they spend the whole time down and out.
mm.
Have you heard of people who this happened to?
Sure. I mean, these stories
Yeah.
are, I think, very common. Like we
Yeah.
hear, yeah,
Yeah.
we hear think like it's almost like a twist in the story. It's like something good happens and then, you know.
Yeah. Right. And so this is part of it is our whatever our life has become is our normal, and anything that deviates from our normal is somehow not okay internally.
Mm,
Even when it's really great stuff, I've always wanted this. I've always wanted to win the lottery. I've always wanted to go on vacation in this spot. And then it becomes this stressful thing. Or people can be going along in their life, getting more and more happy in what they want. And then all of a sudden, they reach what a lot of researchers have called the happiness set point. And they get beyond the happiness set point and get into this incredible stressful place about it and then tamp it down to get below that happiness set point. It's almost like I can't get happier than this. Well, here's the truth.
mm,
We our capacity for joy, for happiness is infinite, right? You teach
mhm,
this, right, Chris?
mhm, mhm.
This is our
Absolutely.
capacity. It's infinite, it's limitless. So the program that says I have a happiness set point, it's often something that's programmed from childhood. We're not even aware of it.
Mhm.
And there may be a belief behind it. Like, if I get happier, somebody else is going to lose in the
Right,
equation.
right, right.
It's an unseen, kind of unrecognized program that each of us lives with these programs. And
Yes.
we don't really know it until they rear their heads. And then we have an opportunity, if we take it, to
Yeah.
explore.
Yeah, and it comes in so many different ways, right? Everyone's different. It's like the beliefs can be there can be thousands of these negative beliefs. It's like if
Right.
I have a lot of money or if I get if I'm happy most of the time, people are going to hate me. People are going to judge me. People are going to think, like sometimes we get in
They're
our
going to
own
be
head.
jealous of me.
They're going to be jealous of me. They're going to ask me. I'm going to be asked for. I'm going to be asked for all this money.
Yeah.
If people are going to come out of the
People are going to have
woodwork
their
to,
hands out. Yeah. Right.
yeah, it's like, and so there's a variety of like beliefs, negative beliefs, limiting beliefs
Right.
that get in our way
Yeah.
even when good things happen. And I think that's worth considering, because when we step into a new, and this is such a human thing, it's such a natural thing, when we step into a new world, like if you win the lottery, for example, you are stepping into a new world. This is
Yeah.
unlike what you're used to, and yet sometimes we carry the same beliefs with us. Unless we shift those or change those, we are carrying the same mental mindset, viewpoints and perspectives that in the old way were obviously not helping us. And so even with the external circumstances being different, it still gets in our way, and hence self-sabotaging.
We just don't know until it rears our head. Like we get happier and happier in our lives. We unfold into new territory that we've always wanted.
Yeah.
And then self-sabotage hits. And it can blindside us. We just don't even see it coming because it's not something we're taught even exists, let alone to expect. When things are going better and better, we kind of assume we're on the upswing. Things are continuing to grow and get better and better and better. Not that somehow some part of us is going to come in and smack us down.
Exactly. Okay, so Sharon, I'm
Yes.
curious, do you have any examples that we could start talking about of self-sabotage in action? Like something in your life that's happened to you, where self-sabotage started to come into play, maybe even before you knew what it was, and then what happened and how did you sort of deal with that?
Yes, definitely. Great question. Thanks for asking. Yes, I would say self sabotage has played a huge role in my journey around body image. So I don't
Mm,
know if you or anybody out there has watched The Substance. It is a crazy, creative, artistic film for which Demi Moore just won the Golden Globe for Best Leading Actress in a
mm,
role. And it is really about body image and women and what culture expects of us as we age and what Hollywood puts onto women and what women we put on ourselves. And there can be a lot of self loathing, self judgment about it. So I will say that I had a limiting belief that because I'd always struggled with my weight, that somehow I didn't get to have a body that felt right for me.
mm,
And so this was maybe going way back, maybe my first limiting belief that created some self sabotage. Therefore, I was always kind of at war with my body. And I
Are we
would
talking about since childhood, like early on?
since I was a
Teen.
teen, all of a
Mm,
sudden, I gained a bunch of weight as I came into my more womanly body. And from that point on, just going with the flow of eating naturally, whatever felt right, all of a sudden that didn't work anymore. I was gaining weight and I didn't
mm,
feel good. And all of a sudden, I was in a kind of a different world of trying to all of a sudden be in a larger body. It didn't feel right.
mm,
And then I found myself at war with my body. And it didn't feel good for a lot of years. And I would try to kind of be at war with myself, punish my body into submission by going on these, strict diets and
mm,
doing punishing kinds of exercise. And it was like I was doing this with myself, rather than
mhm,
being in harmony with myself and accepting myself and loving myself. And then from that point on, going on a journey that felt good, I was feeling bad. I was going down that path that's in The Substance, although not to that extreme, of just being in non acceptance. So I would say
mm,
that was one way that I was sabotaging myself without even realizing it. There was a limiting belief that I held that somehow it's hard for me. It's hard for me to be in concert with who I am and have a body that feels great and that
mm,
feels right for me. So that was
mm.
sort of an
When were you
ongoing.
aware of that? So it started in your teens. You have this body image issues. I'm sure that I mean that's super common because we compare ourselves to other people, especially in our teens when we're looking to,
Yeah.
be accepted by our friends and be accepted, and we see society and we start becoming aware of what the media is talking about, what society's talking about, what other people might even start judging us, and so we start getting inside our own heads.
Yeah.
I can relate in the sense that I have always felt like a small guy, like body wise, like a
Mm.
skinny. I was always skinny. I was always small and kind of scrawny, and so there was always this sense, and it still lives in me today, as I just want to be more full, more muscular, more, I want my body to be look different than the way it did or the way it does. And so I think this is such a common thing that whether it's
Not just for women.
it's not just for women. It's not
Yeah.
just for overweight or under. It's like it could
Yeah.
be anything. It's just our own judgment of ourselves and our unhappiness with how we look ourselves, no matter how that might be. Okay, so that is in your teens that happens. And then when do you become aware that this is a problem in a sense of like, oh, this is really causing me issues?
Yeah. I don't think I got this kind of connective tissue around it until a few years ago
Mm,
when I came at it really sideways. I started getting more aligned with the core essence of who I am. I started living more alignment in my life generally with who I am in all areas of life,
mm,
with the work that I was doing. That would be a primary way. And that fueled a move to a place that felt more like my environment. So my life was getting better and better. And I was living more in alignment with who I am, just the authentic me,
mm,
living more in joy every day. And so then I started looking at other aspects of my life and I thought, well, why would I have any area of my life feel anything but joyful to me?
mm,
And so then I looked, okay, my body and me. And I want my body to feel congruent with who I am authentically. So that became a
mm.
thought in my head, and I don't think I had quite looked at it that way, more like I wanna beat it into the form I think it ought to be in, like a
Yes.
separate being.
Yes.
Now I'm like, I'm in alignment with all of myself, feeling really good, loving myself more than probably I ever have, being in more self-acceptance. So now I'm looking at my relationship with my body in a brand new way, which
Mm,
is, well, why can't I just be in congruence with my body? And so then I sort of named my wish list to the universe. Let me have a super easy way to bring my body into congruence with who I really am.
mm,
It's plug and play. It's very easy. I feel really good. I'm super healthy doing it. And I get to my right body size. This was
mm.
my wish.
Okay.
And boom, okay. Within a few days, somebody popped into my head that I hadn't talked to in a long time to reach out to see if they knew of any such kind of program I could plug into.
Mm,
And she immediately wrote back and said, I had really good luck with this one program. Do you want me to connect you with the company? And I said, yeah. And so I was looking into some different options that could really be easy and healthy and get me where I wanted to be. And
mhm,
so I talked to the person she recommended and I sat with it and I thought this feels right. This is the one I'm going to do.
mm,
And then it was super easy and the weight fell off and it was unbelievable. I have a
mm,
before and after picture. I mean, within 6 months, I
mm.
went from looking completely different, more aligned, more congruent than ever with who I really am. It
Now,
just
what was different about this approach? Because there's obviously so many people are trying different things of
yeah,
like what and when someone and by the way, like I imagine someone hearing what you just said, their thought is, what did you do? Like what
yeah,
was the thing?
yeah.
But
Well,
I'm
you mean what was the program?
well, that too, but like
Yeah.
what's the trick to this or the secret to this program that makes it work?
Right. Well, so and then self-sabotage happened after that. So we can go into yeah.
Okay.
No, well,
Okay.
really, that's not the end of the story. I had
Okay.
self-sabotage that came in because now I'm feeling better and better in my body and happier in my life because more and more of my life is just aligned with who I really am. And what that I wasn't prepared for to self-sabotage my weight loss. But
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
So this is really the crux of the self-sabotage I want to share with you.
yeah.
But first, how did I get to the program that really lined up, right?
Mhm,
So now I'm not at war with my body and just plugging into any old diet.
mhm,
I'm really feeling intuitively into my inner knowing, my wisdom into what truly feels right for me. So the
mhm.
program isn't the important thing, what program
Yeah,
I did, because
yeah.
what's great for me might not be great for the next person, right?
Right, right,
But
right.
it's that I weighed all these options and then I waited till I got this inner yes.
Yeah,
And so that is how I chose which approach.
yeah.
And I can tell you right now, Chris, that there were certain things I knew I didn't want. I didn't want something that involved fasting because I like to eat a lot
Mm,
all the time.
mhm,
So I was
mhm,
like, I don't want to do a fasting thing.
mhm.
And so this one you eat every 2 hours. I was like, yay, I get to eat
Whoa,
all the
okay.
time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it had all these elements that really called out to me. And it's just smaller amounts. You eat small amounts that have the right ratio of protein to carbs to fat,
Mm,
put you in a light fat burning mode. And so that it's working for you. So I don't have a lot of carbs on this, just with vegetables. I don't have
mhm,
fruit or starchy vegetables or grains while I'm on this, or sugar or alcohol.
mhm.
And I thought, yeah, I can do that because I felt really balanced with the lean proteins I was having and small
Mhm.
amounts of healthy fats. So that's kind of the essence of what I was doing 6 times a day, every 2 hours, every 2 to 3 hours.
Got
And
it.
then you're also doing movement, but I already was very active. So I didn't have to bring movement into my life. I swim several times a week. I walk my dog twice a day.
Mhm.
So I already was active. Some people, they're sedentary, but that wasn't the issue for me. It was really, how do I get my eating in check? So that's
Yeah,
why the weight just started falling off, because I was really in alignment with the program. I wasn't at
yeah.
war with myself. I was in
Right.
alignment with myself in my
Yeah.
choice of the program. I waited
Yes.
till I got that clarity from within. I wasn't just like, oh, that'll do. Let me just pick, I mean, I definitely have been frustrated in my past.
Mhm.
And I just, the latest fad diet out there, I did it. And there have
Yeah,
been plenty of them throughout the
yeah,
years.
yeah.
And it
Oh my
and
god,
it
yeah.
wasn't something that came from this deep yes within. It was just more trying to pummel my body into submission.
Yeah, yeah, okay, so there's a lot of things up till this point, I know the story continues, but up to this point, I feel like it's worth pointing out some key things that you're doing that I think could be super helpful for all of us. One is you're becoming consciously aware. Like there's a sense of I'm looking at this in a different way and I want to look at this in a different way and I want to find the solutions that will help me with this problem. I want to steer myself in a different direction. So that first of all, instead of it just being like you're in your head and you're beating yourself up and you're not seeing this, you're like you have a new conscious awareness about it. And then two, adopting this like lighthearted, almost I want to be in alignment. Like if that's the goal, I want to be in alignment with something that works for me, something that feels good to me, something that resonates with me, and getting me to the goal I want, but in a kind, loving, compassionate way versus pummeling myself into submission or my body into submission. And then the third thing is go like once you get into that mode, going with that intuitive hunch impulse to reach out to someone. It's like it's almost like you shift your mind perspective, your inner perspective, mind to heart, and then in that new clear space a person popped into your head of who to reach out to or who to ask that you might not have thought of otherwise because you were in a different mode. It's like you were down here like rattling around down here and then you became conscious and you were like, hang on, I want to approach this in a different way, and then you started to float up here, and floating up here allowed your mind to find new opportunities, new people, new methods, new ways, opening up yourself to different options that were out there, and you were able to, and thank god you went along with that, you followed that impulse, that good feeling impulse, and found that. And lastly, the last thing I note of this story that are all key concepts are you're not suggesting that it's this thing, because I think you're right. Like, think about it. Everybody who's listening, think about this. There are hundreds of different ways that people lose weight successfully. Some do it through the fasting method. Some do it through, like,
That's
there's
right.
all kinds of, right? There's so many programs, and every one of those programs has some success stories of people who that's worked for me. That's worked for me. That's worked for me. And a lot of these are very different methods or programs or strategies about how to do it. So it's not that it's, oh, do this thing. And that's not and I know that, like you pointed out, that's not the point of what we're talking about.
Right.
You're not saying, I found the best weight loss strategy here. Let me tell you what it is. You're
Exactly.
just, right. It's like, but we're talking about, it's the approach. It's the getting in alignment with yourself, with your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, all of it.
That's
You're getting
it.
into that's it. And then the approach that works for you. And because here's the thing that I truly believe, we're all different on so many levels. Our preferences are different. Our likes are different. Our the dreams and goals we have are different. Our personalities are different. What we enjoy is different. And so different programs and different things are going to work for all of us. So to find the one that works for you, it's not just copying what Sharon's doing. It's
That's right.
you're saying, find yourself, get in alignment with yourself, with who you are, with where your heart is, and then let that be the guide to the program that works for your body, for yourself, for you, right?
Yeah, in fact, if I could just deviate and tell a little side story that relates to
Please,
what you just
yes.
said. Yeah. So years ago, when I was in grad school, there was a class in grad school that invited an Ironman champion to come and speak because they wanted to know, how did he become number one? How did he become the champ?
Hmm.
And so he was invited and he came to our school and we all got to sit around with him and hear him talk about it. And he said, every year I would compete in the Ironman. And this is, what the Ironman is, right? It's
Is that the like like it's like a marathon competition? Is it a three event thing, or
you run a marathon, you bike 75 or 100 miles, and you swim like 2 or 3 miles. You do all of those in
wait,
one
wait,
go.
wait, wait, wait. You run a 26-mile marathon
Yeah.
as part of it?
Yeah. As part of it. It's just one of the three things you're doing all together.
People are
And
amazing. People's bodies are amazing. I couldn't do any one of these things.
I know. And these happen all over the world, but like the big kahuna Ironman is in Hawaii every year. And so this
Hmm.
is where he was competing, was at the big Ironman championship every year. And every year he was getting beat by this one guy who was number one for a bunch of years in a row. And
Hmm.
so what he kept doing is he kept studying this guy. How is he doing the running part? How is he transitioning off the bike? How is,
Hmm.
everything? He was studying him because he's like, if I can only crack the code of how this guy does it, I can start winning.
Hmm.
And every year this guy would beat him. And so finally he started looking at how he could be his own best. He started working with a shaman who got him in touch with his way, not his competitor's way of doing it, but what
Hmm.
was his best way of doing it. And so he really got in sync with himself, or the same thing I'm talking about when I say in alignment or in congruence. He was
Hmm.
really at one with who he was as a unique being in his unique way to participate in this sport, to compete.
Hmm.
And so as soon as he got in touch with his way, as opposed to trying to do it the champion's way, he started winning. And I think he won 7 years in a row after that.
Whoa, whoa. I
Yeah.
love this because, yeah, we are all different. So different things are
We're
going to
all
work for
different.
each of us. Find the way that works for you. It's not it's not about copying people. I think
That's
that's
right.
the thing but it feels like that, like that's the surface level thing that we all think, like, oh, what are they doing specifically? How are they doing whatever it is that we want for ourselves? Like, how are they doing it? And we think it's something physically, like what they're doing physically,
That's
or some
right.
like a technique or a
It's the
thing.
it's the action items we think we have to copy,
The
and
action items. That's
it's
right. That's right.
all inside. It's on the inside,
Yes.
the unseen part. It's what is my
Yeah.
way. And so this brings me to what I would say to add to your great list.
Mm.
I think you have 4 or 5 things on it. So here's
Hmm.
what I would say would be my very first thing that I would add to your list, and I
Mm.
think this is the Ironman champs thing as well,
Mm.
is questioning my beliefs, my limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
So, my limiting beliefs, when I started to look at them, and that was what set off the whole thing of maybe I can lose this and it can be easy, was my limiting belief number one was I don't get to have the body I want because it's harder for me than everybody else. It's a struggle for me. It's always been, it always will be. So that was limiting belief number one.
Mm.
Limiting belief number two, I think, was in order for me to even try to have a body size that feels congruent, I have to starve myself and I have to exercise more than feels good or in a way that doesn't feel right for me.
Mm. Mhm.
So those were my limiting beliefs. And I think the Ironman competitor's beliefs were the only way I can beat my competitor is to do what he does better than he does it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right? So
Mhm.
when we can put a handle on what our beliefs are about something and
Yes.
understand, gosh, maybe those beliefs are not etched in stone.
Yes.
Maybe we can shift our belief and shift our life. And that's really was the genesis of it for me in this
This is
pathway.
this reminds me of something that Joe Hudson, who's an executive coach, talks about the idea of question the assumption. So a lot of things that we're doing, these beliefs that we have, when you pinpoint the negative ones, so you're right, that is like the first becoming aware, pinpointing your negative beliefs, and then questioning them. Are they really true? And often you're going to find, no, they're not. Like limiting beliefs and negative beliefs are not true, or they're not true to us. And you can tell because they feel like shit. So you know that they're not, there's something off about them.
But you know what? I didn't really know that it wasn't right.
Mm,
I couldn't quite get myself to say, well, this is all BS because I had a track record throughout my life. So here's
mm,
what I did to bridge that gap between questioning my belief and having a new belief was
yeah.
what if? I went into the what ifs. What if this gets to be easy? What if it
Mm,
gets to be plug and play? What
mm,
if just the right thing can just come my way?
mm.
And so I started imagining these what ifs, and that's when the inspiration hit to call this person, everything unfolded. So
Ooh.
I got myself into an imaginary imagination place with it.
God, we're hitting so many different cool pieces to the universe puzzle here. But I love this. So asking the what if questions of what if, and notice that it's a positive question you're asking. What if this could be easy? What if I can do this? What if it doesn't have to feel the way that I always thought it would have to feel like? What if I could find something that works just for me and it could be these are prompting your mind with positive questions. Your Our mind just wants to fill in gaps and answer questions. So whatever
Often with
you
bad news. Often
what
with right.
yes, when we plug it with negative things, which is normally what we do, right? It's
Yeah.
like this can't work for me. This I am, uniquely difficult with myself. This is going to be specifically hard for me because I've always had these problems. Whatever. Like when we're talking like that to ourselves, we get the results that we get from that are going to. It's almost like our mind has to make those. Oh, okay. Another Marissa Peer, amazing therapist. She's online talking about
I'm taking
um,
a class from her right now.
really? Oh my god, I love Marissa Peer. She says that the stories we tell ourselves, the assumptions we have, the negative beliefs,
Yeah.
like you had with your body and weight loss, when you have those and you're carrying those, your mind has to make it true. And so, if that's the case, when you have these negative beliefs, you're going to be that I can't do it. I'm not good enough. This is going to be really hard. I'm never going to figure this out. From that mentality, I'm going to just visually, I'm a visual guy. So down here, if that's your mentality, that's the frequency you're thinking on. You're going to get inspiration from that low frequency to find programs that are going to be hard, that are not going to work for you, that are going to confirm those beliefs that you have. They're going to it's like you are always going to prove yourself right. No matter if it's good or bad, positive or negative, you're going to prove your beliefs right because you believe them. You truly believe them. And so when you start posing positive questions to yourself, like, what if this could be easy? What if this could be in flow? What if this can work really well for me? What if I can be successful in this? What if I can see really amazing results? You're starting to prep your mind in a different direction. You're lifting you're thinking now up here on wavelengths of high vibe wavelengths, right? And from there, you're going to get new kinds of impulses, new kinds of inspiration, new kinds of ideas, new kinds of clarity, new kinds of ways of looking at it or perspectives to have. And those are the ones that are going to help you because they come from your true essence, your heart space.
They help you until you shut them down because you start
Mm.
to feel better and better and self-sabotage takes hold. Doesn't
Bringing us
always
full
take
circle.
Yeah, it doesn't always take hold, but this is the other thing that can come in and like I said, blindside you is you're feeling better and better as I was.
Mm-hmm.
I got lined up on the inside.
Mm.
I kind of dashed those beliefs. And so I was really in sync with myself. Everything's going along great. And then pow, like I'm looking great. I'm feeling great. I'm happier and happier in my life, not because of the weight loss. I mean, I feel good in my body. When I feel more congruent in my life, I feel better. So it was that. It was the overall impact of everything I was doing in my life.
Mm.
And then I got happier and happier. And all of a sudden, I started overeating, craving snacks. I was like, what is going on here? And
Mm.
so now the weight that had easily fallen off, it's starting to ratchet up here and there. And I'm going back and forth. And I'm like, what's going on,
Mm.
with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the big, mm, this was the
Right.
big, I don't know how you want to describe it, but it just felt like, what's going on here?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I imagine that's very jarring because you were on this track of like, you feel
Yeah.
like your progress is going up and then suddenly you're hit by something. Okay.
Yeah.
So when this was happening, were you consciously aware of it?
I was, and I thought, well, this is a beautiful opportunity to take a deep dive into what is going on with me. you know,
Sure.
it,
Yeah. What did you
like
find?
isn't life discovery? Well,
Yes, yes.
somebody pointed me the direction. I had a session with a healer who, because I was all about, let me get support for myself. Let me
Mhm.
not just try to do all this by myself, but get support. So I had a health coach, but then I had a healing session, and she said, I think you might really benefit by reading The Big Leap. It's a book by Gay Hendricks on self-sabotage.
Mm.
And I love Gay Hendricks' work. He and his wife Katie are psychologists who I adore their work. Beautiful work around consciousness and love.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he had written a whole book about it. In fact, I had an article he had written about the book on self-sabotage. So I was very well versed. I just hadn't, it had been in the back of my mind, read the book. So I'm like, okay, let me waste no time. And I got the book and I read it. And that is where he talks about, in very simple ways, that we can get it to a happiness set point from childhood.
Mhm.
And it's a good exploration. He takes you through a way to explore what are some of the limiting beliefs you might be holding that are having you tamp down your happiness.
Mm.
And so I really went through his exercises in the book and I realized, oh, okay, this is going to sound weird, Chris, but I realized this was a connection point is my parents really wanted to give us experiences and things, and they couldn't afford to do everything. And so sometimes they would say, we can't afford this, but we're going to live beyond our means because we want to give you this experience, or we want to
Mm.
take you here, or we want to do this. And so there was this guilt that came with some joyful experience. Like it's taking away from their financial well-being. Now, this got really internalized. They didn't mean to put that on us, but I think somewhere I got this memo internally that when I live into a more joyful experience, it's taking away from my parents' financial well-being. So that was the old
Whoa.
program. I know that was a
Oh.
big light bulb moment for me. I was like,
Wow.
oh, God,
Yeah.
where did that come from? Because now I'll tell you, Chris, my parents are both gone. They're no longer on the planet.
Mm.
And so I, even though that was never true, it certainly isn't true now. They're not
Yes, right,
here
right.
anymore,
But the
right?
belief is still there or was still there, right?
The program was
Yes.
going way in the background, way underground, and it was just coming out in the form of self-sabotage around the weight loss. Is that the craziest
That's
thing?
so I mean, I'm so happy that you found that. I'm so part of me has this genuine curiosity of like I'm sure the book gets into all these kinds of exercises that people can do to find
Yeah,
these kinds of things, but
it
I'm
does.
curious is
Easy.
easy. Is there any like one or two like tips that you could take that you could share with us because I'm genuinely curious myself that we can do to discover those negative beliefs that we might have lurking beneath the surface?
Well, first of all, I highly recommend the book. And he just takes you for, I listened to it on audio too, which is so
Mhm.
cool because he reads it and it's great. And he says there's 4 questions basically that you can explore to get at self-sabotage. So
Mm,
one of them is, do you have a belief that's in there that from childhood that if something gets given to you, it's going to take away from somebody else,
mm,
like a sibling or something?
mhm,
Or do you have a belief that you don't deserve it on some
mhm.
level? Like
That's a
you're
big
not
one.
worthy of it? That's
Yes,
another
yes.
one. Because somehow you got that message, like you don't deserve this,
Yeah.
and internalized it. And I don't know, there's 2 more. So, but I lived in all of the questions, and I might have even revised them a little bit to get at what it was for me.
Mhm.
But it really was a very simple practice, but those were some of the questions. It's just, do I
I
have
love it.
some old program from childhood, maybe that I internalized, that I believed because I was told it or because I just assumed it from what was going on in my life, that
Mhm.
I don't get to have unlimited happiness, that somehow
Mm,
there's an expense, there's a price to pay when my
mhm.
happiness rises. It takes away from somebody else or something else. So
Wow.
that's one of them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay. So you pinpoint this in yourself. You
I
find
put
you one of
this,
yours. Uh-huh.
one of mine. It's been an amazing discovery. And here's the other thing about it that I think is so important. And I want to hold this book up because this was what was next. It's so juicy. Is this book,
The
The
Genius
Genius
Zone.
Zone? Yeah. So this is the follow-on book. Here's the thing he says is that I love is that when we self-sabotage, we keep ourselves from living into our superpower or our zone of genius. The more we uncover, and that's all you have to do is just uncover what the self-sabotage is about, what that limiting belief is, and it's like poof, it kind of dispels. So there's nothing more that you got to do. You don't have to dwell in it. You don't have to make
Mhm.
a big deal out of it.
Just
It's
shining
just,
your the light of awareness, conscious awareness on that.
that's it. Bringing the darkness into the light. Yes,
Mm,
that's it. Shining
I love
conscious
that.
awareness on it. Yes, Chris, really well said. When we do that and we know our happiness gets to be limitless. We have
Mhm.
an infinite capacity for joy. There's no ceiling on it, right?
Mhm.
There's none.
Mhm.
Then that leaves room when we stop self sabotaging to move more of our energy into doing what really lights us up on the inside. It isn't
Mm.
that what we all want. So it unlocks the
Yes.
keys to the kingdom of being able to dwell there. Not everybody knows what's my superpower or my zone of genius, but Gay Hendricks describes it as not the thing that you're necessarily super good at. A lot of people build careers around things they're really good at and they make a lot of money. And he
Mhm.
would call that your zone of excellence. If it's something that you're really good at, but how many people, I know a lot of people who say, I can't wait to retire because then I'm going to do something that really adds meaning to my life.
Right.
As opposed to the work I am doing brings so much joy and meaning to my life
Mhm.
because it's really a full expression of who I am as a being. It is my unique capability. It is my superpower. That is dwelling in your zone of genius. It can be your work, but he describes it. Most people never get beyond their zone of excellence.
Mm.
And but this is like the question we get to ask ourselves is,
Mhm.
what turns me on the inside? What radiates my magnificent abilities that are uniquely mine in
Mm,
this world when I turn them into action in the world. That's what he calls the zone of genius. That's what I call the superpower. And I thought, well, I already know what mine is. It's guiding us to our wisdom. So
mhm.
now it's just this piece, and that's not that way for everybody, but it's this piece of identifying the self sabotage when it rears its head and then letting it kind of dissipate. That's really
Mhm.
the magic. That's the solution to self sabotage is identifying it.
Just identifying it, and
Just
there's some
identifying it. That was news to me. Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Hendrix. Yeah. All I have to do is identify it.
Now, okay, so question I have, if someone's watching and they're like, "Okay, if I identify that my negative belief is, that if I am happy, then it takes away from someone else," or if, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, let's say that that was the one.
Right.
W how does that stop them from not continuing to believe that? If that's something they believe for 30 years or 40
Well,
years?
this was my belief. This was my false belief with my about my parents. It takes away from my parents' financial well-being when I live in joy. And
Mhm.
so all I did is realize that that wasn't true. Like
Mhm.
when I just shined a spotlight on that belief, it was very clearly not true.
Okay,
It was
okay,
ne
right.
it was never true. In fact, I realized, my God, I was a kid. They were the only ones in charge of their finances and their financial well-being. It was
Right.
never on me. Even if
Yeah.
they overspent, that wasn't on me as a kid,
No, that was
ever,
their choice,
ever.
right, of course.
So as an adult, I get it loud and clear, and I think that's all we need to do is just understand. Oh, yeah, it
Y
it never really made sense. I took it
Mhm.
on, and when I
Right,
look at it in the full brightness of day, it doesn't hold up. That belief
right,
just doesn't hold up, right?
right, right, and I wanna tag on here that for anyone watching, if there's, like, a question of if it feels bad to you, if it feels negative to your heart, whatever the negative belief is, if it feels bad, there's something off about it. There's a different way you can look at it. There's a different perspective you can take. There's something that is not true about it. And maybe you don't know the exact solution just yet, but just know that that is not a true thing if it feels off to you. And that's a good indicator because because I think a lot of us get in this thing of like, well, yeah, this feels shitty, but it's true. And knowing like if it feels shitty to you, there's something off about that. And it's for you to explore. Maybe you'll figure out quickly, maybe you won't. But what if maybe ask yourself this question: what if that's not true? What if there are other ways I can look at this? What if there are solutions out there that can help me figure this out? What if this is something different than what I think it is? And just posing that question again, sitting in this pond of self-awareness, because I think that is very true. It's like once we become self-aware, we see the game in a different way. Life is kind of like it kind of feels like a video game to me sometimes, like life. And once we become self-aware, it's like you wake up to the matrix, right? You wake up and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm in this environment where it's not just me being lost and walking around like I used to be or like everybody else is, where we're just unaware. We're going about our everyday, just going through the motions, living on autopilot, running off of this old programming over and over and over again. When you start to just have some kind of conscious awareness of this, it wakes you up to see the world on a different level. Oh, my thoughts are contributing to this. Oh, I can direct them in different ways. Oh, I can change the way I'm looking at things. I can change my perspectives. I can find new beliefs that help me. I can find ways to resonate with my heart more. I can follow my heart and do what makes me happy and find the answers I'm looking for. I do have some sway and control over how this life of mine goes. That's a huge, huge like wake up to playing the game in a different way where you can find the answers you're looking for.
Yeah, and sometimes we have a limiting belief that this process of uncovering self-sabotage or living into our superpower or being joyful, our happiest, wisest selves, that this has got to be difficult or
Mhm.
complicated.
Yep.
And
Yep.
this is how simple it gets to be. So we're
Yeah.
just sort of ripping the Band-Aid off of, that kind of mystery or belief that it's gotta be hard and it's gotta be difficult. It's gotta take a
Yes.
long time to figure it out or to solve it or to fix it. And it's
Right.
really just as simple as identifying it. "Oh my god, this belief I've been living with. Let me
Mhm.
switch that to a
Yes.
new belief and follow what inspires me." It really gets to be that simple.
Wow, I love this so much. I can relate to it with my own struggles in life. I mean, this feels like I didn't realize that getting rid of my anxiety was going to be as easy as it ended up being because I was telling myself, well, this is going to be a lifelong thing. This is going to be something that I have to manage. This is something that it's just part of me. It just I have it. It's sort of like this defeated kind of like, well, this is it now, and though those looking back on what ended up shifting, it is true. It can be the answers are out there. And if we start shifting our mind and how we're thinking about things, they can come way easier, way smoother, way faster, way more in flow, way more intuitively, way more the clarity can come. And so I love that this can apply to anything that people are dealing with or struggling with
Anything. Right, and
whatever right.
for more deep dive information into how Chris turned around his anxiety really quickly, actually. And it wasn't from the professionals, it was from his own inner knowing and taking in wisdom teachings. Check
Mhm.
out our last live stream on
Yes.
Chris' YouTube channel, Chris Newth,
Mhm.
or my Facebook page, Sharon Hoffman. And that video is playing. It's there for you to check that out as well. So I'm
Yes,
just
yes.
curious for today, as before we wrap up, Chris, or to begin the wrap up,
Yeah.
is there any question you have about
Mm.
self-sabotage and solutions that we haven't talked about yet?
Mm. Um, I feel like we
Or
did
comment?
or
Yeah,
comment. I feel like we've done I think, like, I love your story. Thanks for walking us through it because I feel like that's such a
you're welcome.
relatable thing, and and also, like, specifically weight loss. It's or bodily, how we see our bodies and how our
Body image.
relationship to our body. It's such a major I know so many people personally in my own life just that have struggled with that or deal with that, and
And
the
this time of
idea
year in particular, right? How
and
many New
what?
Year's this time of year in
Oh,
particular,
sure. Oh, of
how
course.
many
Yeah.
people's resolutions involve weight loss or being in better shape? I think gym memberships go way up in
Yes.
January.
Yes. I think that's yeah, absolutely. It's top of mind right now. But I think and just as a topic, I feel like that's so relatable because it's so on our minds of our relationship to our bodies. And so the idea that you're proposing that there's a simpler, easier way we can look at this and approach this issue that
Yeah.
can have real world effects, real world benefits, and help us feel more in alignment with ourselves and help us find the solutions that work for us is so I don't know. That's very uplifting, and I'm thank you for sharing it and being so
You're
open
welcome.
with that. I feel like
You're
that's
No, you're welcome, Chris.
yeah.
I just
Truly,
wanna
truly.
Yeah, I wanna say, like, around my weight loss story, I wouldn't have thought it possible around your anxiety, it almost sounds unsurmountable, that I wanna say this, we are so much more powerful than we know, really.
Yeah, yeah.
That to harness our potential, to harness the power we each possess is an amazing thing, and that's really what we talk about here. Every
Hmm.
topic really comes down to that, how do we harness our potential to live the life we wanna be living, and everybody out there, you're so much more powerful than you know.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's beautiful. And I feel like, I think a lot of people, and for good reason, they might see us talking about, like, because we, for our individual journeys have helped us click in different ways. And of course, you followed these books that helped you figure out your life and your issues. I found this is kind of like going back to the specific answers for you are led to, right? So
Yep,
like I was led to other different kind of books that helped me figure out my stuff. And
yeah,
so the answers aren't necessarily this specific program or this
that's
specific
right.
book or this specific thing or whatever. It's the how are you approaching your life in alignment with yourself so that you can find the books that help you and the programs that help you and the information that helps you. And I I can see how someone could hear us talking about this and go, wow, this sounds really like pie in the sky thinking. This sounds really not doable. But I'm telling you, like, as someone who truly didn't think that I would lose my anxiety, didn't even think it was possible, didn't even think that was a possibility, that the answers you that will help you are out there, and it's just about tuning inward to yourself, and let that be a journey with yourself that you take. But allow yourself to understand that your emotions are telling you something. They're information. They're like a blinking, I always think about our emotions as like a blinking, like, check engine light on your car. They're not to ignore. They're telling you when to steer certain ways and what to try that might help you find the answers you're looking for. And so, as an emotions guy, as an emotions teacher, the self sabotage to me looks like if you feel if you feel insecure, you're doing some kind of self sabotage. If you're fearing something, that's some form of self sabotage. And we all do this, by the way. If we feel angry, it's some sort of self sabotage.
Mm.
All these negative emotions are causing, even on a very physiological level, it's self sabotaging ourselves if we stay and linger in them and dwell in them for too long, because it causes our brain to produce cortisol and stress hormones and us to stay in fight or flight mode, and it causes stress to add up, when all that's a form of self-sabotage, and it's stop.
So true what you're saying. Even Gay Hendricks talks in the book about how there are some little warning signs that we're
Mhm.
on the precipice of going into self-sabotage or behaviors that are really going to harm us, and that's when we're picking fights with
Mm.
people. That's one
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
When we're getting annoyed by things. So yeah.
When we're talking ourselves out of doing something we want to do, or when we're we're stop questioning, second guessing ourselves from making moves in our life that we think would help us or that we feel would be good, because for one reason or another, oh, other people are going to judge us if we do that, or something bad is going to happen if we do that, or it's selfish to do that, whatever the, again, it goes back to negative beliefs. But these are all ways that we self-sabotage. So I guess I think we to wrap up, my thoughts on this would be, let me pose the question to everybody who might be watching right now, to go back to something that, Sharon, you were talking about. What if your happiness is unlimited? Sit in that for a little bit. If you're questioning that, sit in the idea. If maybe you've never thought of that, but maybe you've never even considered that until Sharon brought this up today. But what if your happiness could be unlimited? What if it was? What if your happiness had no bounds, no no ceiling? What if it could just be infinite and endless? What if? And just even letting your mind sit there for a minute or two every now and then can open it in ways to having you think and operate in ways that you haven't been doing lately, and that can help you find those answers that are specifically, uniquely helpful to you. That's what I would
Excellent.
that's what I would
That's
say.
that's a good ending point. Thank you everybody for tuning in
Mm.
to Happy and Wise. If you want to find out more about Chris Newth, check him out on chrisnewth.com. In fact, you can also sign up for his cheat codes, which are great little emails that will come into your inbox every day with information you can use to get happier.
Yes, understanding our emotions is so powerful. I truly feel like it is the ultimate cheat code to life, is understanding what your emotions are, what they mean, what they're telling you, what to do with them. And if you can do that in and of course, you don't have to have a degree in psychology. You don't have to do this through therapy. There are easy ways that all of us intuitively understand our emotions. And if you could just look at the common sense and the logic behind it, you can make it very simple for yourself so that you can navigate your life in all the beautiful ways that you want to, and to find the happiness, the consistent happiness, the infinite happiness that you truly deserve. And Sharon, if you want to find more about Sharon, check out her website, SharonHoffmanLiving.com. She has an amazing free gift that you can get. It's a meditation that is beautiful, helps you connect to yourself and find your own inner wisdom.
Yeah, we have only to live life from the inside out. Tune inward and it's our North Star, will always head us in the right direction in our lives.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Sharon, we plug your Clubhouse
Oh,
because we
yes.
love your
Thank
Clubhouse.
Chris.
Uh,
I'm on every Wednesday at 6 p.m. and tune in tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on every Saturday. Love to have you there.
it's
And
more
Chris, love to
conversations
have
like
you
this.
join again. You've
I
been a
will
frequent
absolutely be
guest. Yeah.
popping in. I will be
Okay,
popping in.
good. I've been
But
missing you lately.
I know. I haven't been on for a while, but I definitely plan to do that. But these conversations in Clubhouse, and Clubhouse, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, it's an app easily downloadable on your phone, and it's basically just audio conversations, sort of like this, but you don't have to be on camera with us.
Right.
You're just talking, and it's just like we're having a conversation in a room together. But we get the beauty of it is it kind of takes away all of that fearful facade of like, oh, well, what if I don't know if I feel comfortable, being on camera, whatever. And it allows us to have really in-depth conversations in a way that's comfortable and where we can deep dive all of these topics on happiness, on listening to ourselves, on intuition, on living our powerful life the way that we deserve to live it, and to tap into ourselves in beautiful ways that maybe we never considered before or haven't thought about before. So check that out, Clubhouse. Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific.
6 p.m. And
Oh,
also,
6 p.m. Pacific.
yeah, 6 p.m. And also you get to commune with people from around the world. For instance, my last show, there were people from India, from Egypt, from
Mm-hmm.
California, US. So, all over. People come from all over, and it's we live in the heart space together there. So
Mm.
we live in the common ground to
Mm-hmm.
discuss any topic.
I love it.
That's
I
that's a
love it.
situation where people are looking for clarity. So
Yes.
thanks for that, Chris. Thank you so much for today too.
Oh,
And
what a great combo.
yeah, I've enjoyed every minute. And we've been doing this once a week for a while now. So stay tuned. We're
Stay
coming
tuned
back.
for another.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to another. At some point, we'll have a regular day and time so that if anyone checks us out and finds us somewhere, you'll know where to find us. But I love doing these. These are so fun, and yeah, please look out for our future ones that are coming up.
Yeah. And subscribe to Chris's YouTube channel, Chris Newth.
Yes.
And subscribe or become a friend and a follower of my Facebook page. There's two. There's Sharon Hoffman and Sharon Hoffman Living. So
And that way
love to
you
have
can
you
get
on both.
alerted when we're doing
Right.
future episodes. You'll get that notification, which is super
That's right.
helpful. Okay,
That's right.
awesome. Sharon, thanks for doing this. Thanks for having the
Oh, you're
conversation. It was so
welcome. Thank you,
nice.
Chris. I always enjoy every moment with you. It's such a
Me too.
pleasure.
Oh, all right. Until
And
next
you all.
time.
Okay.